Hi. So, the good news for you all is that I am the last speaker before coffee, I think. The challenging news for us all is that we have a nice light topic to discuss going into coffee. So, what are we to make of the riots? Here's Mark Duggan. 6:15 on Thursday, the 4th of August, Mark Duggan was shot dead by police officers in Tottenham. They claim that fire was exchanged, that he shot them. Family and friends disagreed. And they went to the police station 2 days later to try and get some information and actually have someone come and talk to them. The police would not come out and talk to them. Their protest started at 5:30. By the time it was 20 past 8 and no one had come and spoken to them, 2 police cars set on fire. A riot started out of anger, out of injustice at what had gone on, out of wanting answers and not getting any. And we know what happened next, that the riots spread from Tottenham to Wood Green, and then on the next night, here's, let me just get this. So, second day, Sunday, in 6 other places in London. Next day, 13 more places in London, and also in Birmingham, Gillingham, Bristol and Nottingham. And then we know on the Tuesday it came to Manchester. It was a really interesting day for youth workers in Manchester, going out in the afternoon and talking to young people on the streets, saying, what are you doing about this? Oh, we're going in, we're not going in. Trying to talk to them and help them think really about what was going on. And one comment struck in my mind. Well, what does it matter if we go in and riot in Manchester? Because the next day, the next time I go into town, it will all be cleared up. And actually that was true. I went into Manchester 3 days after the riots, and it was amazingly all cleared up. But why? What's going on? One of the questions that has been asked, sorry, I can't get this to click on. Was it rioting? What was the issue? The issue started about injustice and answers and a man being shot dead by police in Tottenham. But actually, in reality, what was going on? Was it a purposeful riot beyond that into the other towns and cities? Well, maybe. Not purposeful about an issue, but maybe purposeful about anger, purposeful about reflecting people's desires to get what they can for free without having to pay. So it started maybe as one thing and then slowly changed into other things as it went on. Now, one of the big challenges for us is that if we start asking questions about the riot and what's gone on and what are the root causes, some people will criticize us for being left-wing liberals who want to kind of use the riot as an excuse to push our politics. Well, I want to say this. The riots are a mirror. They are a mirror that reflect what is going on in our society. But the riots are a double mirror because our response to the riots also tells us something about ourselves. And so you get quite offensive views, deeply offensive views spoken about people. Like this guy, Pat Condell, talking about an underclass of welfare-dependent, drug-addled criminal scum. You know, in some places, every second 14-year-old is walking around with a gun stuffed down our pants. This is what we are allowing people in our country to say about our young people. That is deeply offensive. I find it offensive. We should find it offensive. And when someone calls a young person feral or an adult feral, they are doing something that is deeply, deeply anti-Christian. Because God has made us human, not animal. And to write someone off as animal is to write off the capacity for change, both within them and the capacity that God has to change us. So really, I beg you, watch people's language. Listen to where their ideas are coming from. Understand that everybody is going to be using the riots to promote their own politics. And let's just think really clearly about this. George Galloway makes this same point and says we must talk about the riots and understand what's going on. Now, we know that young people were blamed, but actually 80% of the people who rioted who were arrested were adults. The majority, just 52%, in the 18 to 24-year-old age bracket. But that tells us we have quite a number of angry young people who are willing to riot. Some of those were graduates who had spent 3 years and invested huge amounts of time and money into study, being promised a job. They have no jobs. You can tell with that previous map and this one that a lot of the rioting happened in places of deprivation. And Peter Oborne in the Daily Telegraph makes this point. He says the riots are actually, he talks about broken Britain, which is a phrase I really detest. But he says also there is a moral disintegration at the top echelons of our society, at the elite, that politicians are allowed to lie and cheat, and that we have a culture of selfishness and greed. So why, when politicians have the freedom to get what they want, how much they want, with expenses, why are we surprised when young people do the same? When we've schooled young people to say your status is made in what you wear, in what you have, but you can't have anything. And here is an opportunity that some people thought to get things without any comeback in a large group, and they took it, just like politicians. So here we have some really interesting things. So here we go. I love this one. Gerald Kaufman, who is MP in Gorton, said, how can we reclaim the rioters? How can society reclaim them? At the same time as having, in 3 months, claimed £14,000 worth of expenses, nearly £9,000 of which was for a Bang & Olufsen TV. Compare that with Anderson Fernandez, a 21-year-old, who wandered into a shop in Manchester that had already been broken into and took an ice cream cone. And he was jailed for 16 months. What the politicians did was somehow legitimise. They didn't have to pay back their money. They didn't go to jail. But we are punishing and horrendously punishing young people and adults for what has gone on in the riots because politicians want to clamp down on this, clearly, understandably, but to make examples. And the punishments are just extortionate. So to finish off, what I do want to say is this. This tells us about the kind of society we live in, but what is God saying and doing? And I found this beautiful rewording of Romans 8, where it says, in all things, God works together with those who love him to bring about what is good. God is creator God. He can work with us, with you and me, to make something different, to change the future of this country as a result of the riots. We don't have to trust in what has gone on. God can bring something new. And that is the difference between hope and expectation. Hope is in people. Expectation is in systems. But let's pray and let's see what is God doing and what can we make of the riots in the here and now for the future good of young people in this country. Thank you very much.